TomoNews presents You Can't Stump the Trump.
What? How in the world is Donald Trump in first place? Contrary to the notion that Donald Trump is shooting himself in the foot with derogatory comments about Mexicans and constant reminders of how rich he is, recent polls show the Donald dead even with Jeb Bush for the top spot in the GOP presidential field. It's hard to believe that the murder of a San Francisco woman and the more recent prison escape by Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman have actually worked in Trump's favor. Of course, Trump took to Twitter to capitalize on the news. Those trumpeting the Donald as the next Teddy Roosevelt cite his straight talk and telling it like it is. Fellow GOP candidate Lindsey Graham takes an opposing view. He said, "I think he's a wrecking ball for the future of the Republican Party in the Hispanic community, and we need to push back." While Democrats sit back and enjoy the show, Republicans don't really know what to do with their loudmouth frontrunner. Hat tip to Twitter user Troy Osinoff. Considering Trump's controversial statements and El Chapo on the loose, Trump had best keep running.
Donald Trump wins first GOP debate as nothing sticks to Teflon billionaire. America tuned in last night to watch 10 Republican hopefuls explain why they should be president. The top polling candidates were invited to participate. Including PAC leader and billionaire businessman Donald Trump. Moderator Megyn Kelly hit Trump for calling women fat pigs. Trump said that was true of Rosie O'Donnell, and he didn't care if Kelly didn't like his comments about women. Second in the polls, Jeb Bush said he should lead the GOP because his nickname is Vito Corleone in Florida. While ninth in the polls, Chris Christie said he should lead because he cut New Jersey's taxes and balanced the budget. Rand Paul said he would end warrantless surveillance, and that prompted Chris Christie to attack, who said Rand Paul was naive about terrorists and the tools needed to fight them. But all eyes were on Trump, who was asked why he had donated money to Hillary Clinton. Trump said he donates to politicians to call in favors, such as demanding Hillary Clinton to attend his weddings. Pressured by Chris Wallace about his 4 bankruptcies, Trump was unapologetic about using the laws to build $10 billion in wealth. At the end of the debate, God used Facebook video to ask the candidates whether they hear him. And despite all that was fired at Trump, nothing would stick. Will the billionaire extend his lead in the polls? Or will he even remain a Republican? Donald Trump may not be the next president of the United States. Donald Trump was certainly among the most flamboyant characters on the stage last week for the first top-tier GOP debate, but it appears the Donald was given enough rope, and yes, he went ahead and hanged himself with it. The person behind Trump's implosion? Fox News anchor Megyn Kelly, who's suddenly become a hero to people who never thought they'd fall in love with a Fox News anchor. Trump did not enjoy Kelly's debate night attacks on him, which included asking the bombastic billionaire about less than flattering comments he's made about women. Not long after the debate, the thin-skinned Trump went on CNN and complained about Kelly, calling her an angry person. Trump then said, "You could see the blood was coming out of her eyes. Blood was coming out of her whatever." Awkward silence. Donald says he was talking about blood coming out of Kelly's nose. Her nose, not her that. Trump says it's disgusting that anyone is disgusting enough to even think he could be disgusting enough to make such a disgusting comment, which is totally disgusting. But the remarks have made so many people so unhappy, they've earned their own gate suffix. Bloodgate is the hashtag that's blown up the internet and apparently Trump's campaign. One of Trump's closest friends has quit, Jeb Bush is milking this for frontrunner status, and the elephant in the room is also displeased. Could Bloodgate mean Donald Trump will not, in fact, be the next president of the United States? It's hard to imagine, but yes, this really could be the beginning of the end of the Donald. Say it's not so! Donald Trump tells Jorge Ramos to go back to Univision. Donald Trump came out swinging in Iowa when he had Univision anchor Jorge Ramos booted from a news conference. Go back to Univision, Trump whined as they squabbled the first time after Ramos tried to engage Trump on his immigration platform. After Ramos was let back in for round two, he pointed out Trump's immigration plan was full of empty promises and asked just how he planned to deport 11 million immigrants and axe birthright citizenship covered by the 14th Amendment. Trump replied with legal experts and his big heart. Ramos then asked the born-rich Trump how he would erect the 1,900-mile-long wall along the U.S.-Mexican border. Very easy, I'm a builder. What's more complicated is building a building that's 95 stories tall. Yeah, but what about all those tunnels? On the topic of deportation, Trump said he would start by immediately going after the gangs with illegal immigrants, which is so much easier done than said. Well, not him personally. On a side note, looks like Trump still has a troner for blonde bimbos named Megyn Kelly.
GOP Debate, Round 3, Fight! The top GOP candidates entered the octagon of CNBC for the ultimate challenge of keeping Ben Carson awake while he explains the mathematics of his flat tax rate. If anyone came out on top of the third Republican debate Wednesday night, it was Florida Senator Marco Rubio. The biggest spat of the night came when Jeb Bush attacked Rubio over his absence in the Senate, which Rubio dodged gracefully and countered with an attack on what he called mainstream media, Hillary Clinton's real super PAC. Ted Cruz scored some easy media bashing points as well. Jeb Bush did nothing but dig deeper into his poll numbers. Besides his failed jab at Rubio, the former governor offered a warm kiss to any Democrat willing to cut spending by $10. Carly Fiorina, the winner of the previous debate, says she worked on her smile. She would have been better off working on her platform. The Donald surprisingly went after John Cage for serving on the board for Lehman Brothers, and in true Trump fashion, teased Cage for being placed on the end of the stage. Of course, most of the candidates had Hillary Clinton in their sights. We'll remain in the center of our seats until the first caucuses and primaries in February.
Donald Trump is the most Americanist American ever and deserves to be POTUS. How did we get to this point? Well, Donald Trump got here the real old-fashioned way. He borrowed $1 million from his pops, took over daddy's real estate company, and then did it all on his own, with a fat-ass inheritance. Now Trump, by pretending to be a Republican, is destroying the GOP field in a prance to the White House. The daddy-made billionaire has fooled every broke American into thinking he's one of them, and pissed off the entire Republican establishment. By pandering to poor Republicans, he's managed to alienate all minorities by being racist, and just for the hell of it, turned off women as well, just by being such a Trump-tastic winner. The only thing Donald understands about foreign policy is that it's foreign to him. As for Trump's business acumen, he'd be richer today if he parked his money in an index fund rather than play the market. Just about the only thing Trump is good at is getting eyeballs glued to the TV, which is why NBC is crawling back and begging him to host SNL. Trump has no problem hopping into bed with liberals. And if the left is serious about winning, they should really try to get the hair on the Democratic ticket. Trump to infinity and beyond. Coming to America? Not if you're Muslim, says Trump. I love the Muslims. I think they're great people, Donald Trump said in September. Which is probably why he's now, quote, calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what is going on. Trump, who has previously called for spying on mosques, and said he was also game to setting up a database for all Muslims living in the U.S., made his insightful comments in the wake of the San Bernardino shooting and a day after President Barack Obama's Oval Office address. Trump's ban would not only apply to Muslim immigrants, but also to Muslim tourists. Donald did say Muslims currently living in the U.S. are all good, though. Trump also pointed out that we have no Muslim sports heroes. Guess Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Muhammad Ali don't really count. The only problem with Trump's plans is that they don't go far enough. What we should be doing is banning all Muslims from traveling, period. Let's just have Trump build some more walls. You know, in fact, we should also just ban people from being Muslim. Problem solved. No-show Donald Trump, the big winner in Iowa debate. Donald Trump won the final debate before Tuesday's Iowa caucus, and he didn't even need to participate. Fox News begged and begged Trump to show up at the lead-up to the debate, which he boycotted because of what he thinks about Fox News moderator Megyn Kelly. In reality, Trump risked blowing his commanding lead by participating in the debate. That's why he sat out. Instead, he held a fundraiser for war veterans, some of whom said they resented being used as political props. With the rhino not in the room, second and third in the polls, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio argued over who would be tougher on ISIS. Trump leads in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. Do you think he can go all the way? Ted Cruz beats Donald Trump in Iowa, while Clinton loses in a tie with Sanders. Donald Trump lost the expectation game with a disappointing second-place finish behind Ted Cruz in the Iowa caucus. Thanks to high turnout among evangelicals, Cruz vanquished his businessman opponent. The battle for the GOP nomination is essentially a three-way race now between Cruz, Trump, and Marco Rubio. Sorry, Chris Christie, Jeb Bush, and Rand Paul, but you have fallen. Over on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton was strong in Iowa's capital, but this wasn't enough to fend off Sanders elsewhere. Clinton and Sanders split the vote and delegate count nearly evenly, which means Iowa was a loss for Clinton in the expectations game. Can Rubio catch up to Cruz in New Hampshire for the title of the real Cubano? And can Sanders convince non-white liberals in South Carolina to become Bernie bros? Stay tuned.
Donald Trump versus Pope Francis, the battle for Mexico's border. Donald Trump's been doing a great job of making high-profile enemies throughout his campaign, and he recently added God's right-hand man to the list. Speaking about the Pope's trip to Mexico this past week, Trump said he didn't think the Pope understood the problems the US is facing with the border, and that Mexico's leaders are using him as a pawn. He added that Mexico sends criminals and rapists to the US, and that when elected, he'll erect a 2,000-mile border wall to solve all the problems. In response, Pope Francis is quoted as saying, "A person who thinks only about building walls, wherever they may be, and not of building bridges, is not Christian." Well, the Donald didn't care for the Pope's weigh-in, saying, "For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful. I am proud to be a Christian." He also said this,
If and when the Vatican is attacked by ISIS, which as everyone knows is ISIS's ultimate trophy, I can promise you that the Pope would have only wished and prayed that Donald Trump would have been president.
Dear God.
Donald Trump wins South Carolina primary and the destruction of the GOP is almost complete. The South Carolina firewall has failed to stop insurgent candidate Donald Trump, who finished first in the state's GOP primary on Saturday. Not even the Pope or God can stop Trump now. The Republicans are pretty much screwed. That's because forthcoming primaries are winner-take-all, meaning Trump will extend his delegate lead, though he typically wins with just 30% of the vote. Marco Rubio is once again the establishment lame front-runner after finishing second in South Carolina and seeing off Walking Dead candidate Jeb Bush. And John Kasich? What are you still doing here? We didn't even bother modeling you. That leaves liar Ted Cruz battling Dr. Ben Carson over in the crazy lane. Meanwhile, over on Reddit, butthurt Bernie bros are claiming Hillary Clinton stole the Nevada caucus. Aww. How will Donald Trump build his border wall? Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump boldly declared last summer that he would build a great wall along the border between the U.S. and Mexico, and that nobody builds walls better than him. Months later, Trump continues to stand by these claims and insists that Mexico will pay for the wall's construction. According to engineers, for Donald Trump's proposed border wall to be effective, it has to be at least 20 feet high above ground and stretch 5 feet below ground. Trump told MSNBC in early February he was envisioning something between 35 to 40 feet tall. In terms of building material, cinder blocks are readily accessible and they would make a sturdy wall. However, stacking each block one by one is labor-intensive. Casting liquid concrete into formwork along the border is another option, but walls made this way are usually weak when they solidify in dry, hot environments. Lining up precast concrete panels and reinforcing them with steel is the most plausible option. The wall would look like a large version of concrete highway walls. By multiplying the wall's price per square foot by the number of miles the wall would cover, Trump estimates that his wall will cost around $8 billion. His calculation does not include construction costs, the cost of building on different terrain, as well as the cost of buying private land. Factors like these could cause the price to be upwards of $15 billion. So it's a good thing Mexico is footing the bill. But Mexico may not have received the memo. A few weeks ago, former Mexican President Felipe Calderón reportedly said that Mexicans are not going to pay any single cent for such a stupid wall.
Clinton's South Carolina firewall stops the burn. Bernie Sanders' campaign crashed into Hillary Clinton's South Carolina firewall on Saturday, with Clinton finishing first in the state's Democratic primary. Despite what some people are saying on the internet, it seems increasingly clear that Hillary will win. In 7 of the 11 Super Tuesday primary states, Hillary Clinton leads Sanders in polls by margins as high as 34%. Donald Trump, who is pretty much guaranteed to win the Republican nomination, unless he somehow screws this up, can't wait for this to be a Clinton-Trump contest. That's because Trump is winning by trolling the establishment, and no one is more establishment than Hillary Clinton. Users of 4chan are loving it. They see a Clinton-Trump contest as potentially giving social justice warriors their comeuppance. What do you think would happen in a Hillary-Trump contest? Would Trump fire Hillary? Or would Clinton prevail?
Donald Trump gets to share the headlines with World War II dictators and an ex-KKK wizard. Who shared headlines this past weekend with a KKK chief, Mussolini, and Hitler? 2016 Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, that's who. Did the GOP's most questionably haired billionaire finally lose the plot? Well, not really. Okay, where to begin? On Saturday, ex-Mexican President Felipe Calderón said the businessman's anti-immigration rhetoric was similar to Adolf Hitler's in 1930s Germany. That comparison was also shared by Vicente Fox, another former president of the U.S.'s southern neighbor. He told CNN Friday that Trump reminds him of the German dictator. Come Sunday, Trump refused to disavow ex-Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard David Duke during an interview on CNN. Trump said he didn't know anything about David Duke or white supremacists. Although the billionaire later clarified his position on David Duke, tweeting a video clip from a Friday press conference on Twitter.
How do you feel about the recent endorsement from David Duke?
I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow, okay?
So that's cleared up, right? Oh, also on Sunday, Trump retweeted a quote from Benito Mussolini. Mussolini, you know, that fascist Italian World War II dictator that Hitler was BFFs with. That tweet, it turns out, though, was a ploy by news site Gawker. They set up a Twitter trap for Trump last year in the form of a bot that quoted Mussolini but attributed it to Trump. The idea was to trick the Donald into retweeting it, and he did. What did Trump have to say about that?
Well, and I saw it. I saw what, and I know who said it, but what difference does it make, whether it's Mussolini or somebody else?
So, let's review the Donald's past few days, shall we? Compared to Hitler by two former Mexican heads of state, making headlines for refusing to condemn ex-KKK Grand Wizard David Duke, and retweeting a quote from World War II fascist Benito Mussolini. So on the one hand, the Donald's extreme rhetoric attracts all kinds of support from all kinds of crazies, but to be fair, he did put out his position on David Duke and the Mussolini quote, and on the other hand, the Mussolini tweet was a setup by Gawker. Plus, the liberal media had a field day by putting Trump into headlines with the KKK and World War II bad guys. And there's this little thing named Super Tuesday coming up this week that could seal Trump's GOP presidential nomination. So what's your take? Should Trump reflect on his populist style of campaigning? Or has the liberal media finally gone full libtard? The Donald trumps all and goes Super Saiyan on Super Tuesday. It's turning out to be a Super Tuesday, as long as you're not Bernie Sanders or a Republican not named Donald Trump. Hillary won big in the South, while Trump has once again shown he's king. As Trump kicks back, the rest of the GOP field is fighting for scraps. Trump has been a gift and a curse for the Republicans ever since he stepped foot in Washington. The billionaire has been all but unstoppable since entering the race, and has shown time and time again he can literally say or do anything, and his poll numbers just keep on surging. America is about to start winning like it's never won before on so many different levels. DC is seriously in need of a facelift, and what better person to do it than a real estate mogul? Who wouldn't like to see some pretty walls and a throwback to camping? While the rest of the Republican field refuses to face that little thing called reality. Hillary probably thinks it's going to be a walk in the park on her way to the White House. Only problem is, the Oval Office may already be occupied by the time she gets there.